Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory is due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from whom to rule well. Peace and salutation to the 144,000, the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Until I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. Now I'm entitled this one, "This is as good as it gets for Esau, Edom." And who is Esau, Edom? That would be the true nationality of who everybody ignorantly calls the white man, because he put that label, white, Caucasian, on himself to make himself to be the image of pureness, because that word white ultimately goes into being pure, not into the color of your skin. Because if you really look into these so-called white people, these self-proclaimed white people, they're really red because they lack pigment, they lack melanin, because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai put that curse of leprosy, where the whole world would be able to identify who he really is, that mark of Cain. And through his pseudoscience during the Renaissance period, he made the whole world to believe that white, so-called whiteness, him being pure and holy and painting himself to be the image of the Most High and the only begotten Son, painting himself to be the true Israelites, the true sons of God, which we know is all bullshit. So through his pseudoscience and him able to deceive the whole world, like it says in Revelation chapter 20, he was lose the little season, because after the Western Roman Empire fell, and then Jake took over, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the true Israelites took over, which will be the Holy Roman Empire, during the Byzantine Empire. That's when Esau, Edom, was in slavery, or not slavery, but he was he was chained up, in those caves, to not go out and cause havoc around the planet Earth. Well, chiefly, mainly over there in the eastern part of the world, but he was chained up. He was in those caves. He wasn't allowed to leave. Whenever he would try to escape, Jake would put him back in there, because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai put Esau, Edom, in those caves for a period of time, which was from around the 1300s, 1400s, or no, the 300s, 400s, right around when the Roman Empire fell, the Western Roman Empire, the pagan Roman Empire, up until the 1500s, when that's around when the Renaissance period came about, when the devil was freed from those caves to go around the earth and deceiving people, to start taking all these different resources, start, the G word, deleting certain, ethnic cleansing. He put the Southern Kingdom in slave ships and brought them over from West Africa to the land of America, which is Babylon the Great. He put the Northern Kingdom, in captivity as well. And now that's why this devil has complete rulership of the entire earth, because he was given that temporary blessing from Isaac that would allow him to rule the whole entire earth and have all these different nations, including the nation of Israel, under captivity. But we know that it isn't eternal. It isn't eternal like the blessing that the nation of Israel has received from Abraham, Isaac, down to Jacob, and the 12 patriarchs, which today would be the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. But you also got Israelite foreigners. They may look like these other heathen nations, but ultimately their lineage goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So you are going to have Israelites that look like so-called white people, but ultimately their lineage is going to go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because you also have Esau, Edom. So right now, we see the so-called white man in power. We see him that he's ruling the entire earth, that he has us under captivity, under slavery. We're at the bottom of the barrel. We have the curses on us, but it's not forever. But you see this devil winning, on top of a society, CEOs, executives, presidents, top politicians, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the banking families. But this is as good as it gets, because even the earth hasn't given the full increase to the devil, because it wasn't meant for him to receive the full increase. That's why a lot of the land hasn't been explored. You got the North Pole and the South Pole covered in ice, because Yahweh Shemel Shai didn't allow the earth to give this devil his full increase. Yeah, he has the best of the world, but it's still polluted. Here, you're in your blessing, but you don't have the full increase. Yahweh Shemel Shai only gave this devil a small percentage of what the earth can fully produce. That's why the earth is dying. These sea life is beaching themselves. The people are mourning. And he even got his own people doing worse than Jake. So that's letting you know that this devil isn't fit for rulership. But this is as good as it gets. So even these Edomites that are sighing and crying because they're getting laid off, they're not being able to afford their rent, then ultimately they're a double loser. They're a loser on this side, and they're gonna be a loser in the kingdom of heaven. So ultimately that allows it to rejoice, because here you got these Edomites in their blessing, but they're still losing. You got Jake, a lot of Jake still doing way better than these so-called white people. So ultimately that's Yahweh Shemel Shai allowing Jake to so-called thrive, even though we're in captivity. But what we see, these concrete buildings, concrete roads, potholes all over, the infrastructure collapsing, Starbucks, McDonald's, 401ks, that's as good as it gets for the white man. It doesn't get better than that, because ultimately what this devil has coming for him is captivity. 1,000 long hardcore year captivity, and then after that, after they get done helping build up the kingdom, then he's gonna have that extinction event where we're gonna do away with the nation of Esau, Edom, and there's no longer gonna be a requirement for the wicked, the sons of the wicked. This is Lamentations chapter 4 and verse 21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. So rejoice, you Edomites, you so-called white people. Enjoy your blessing while you can, because it's clearly being taken away. This place is clearly collapsing. Yahweh Shemel Shai is clearly about to do away with this kingdom of Esau, Edom. You got a lot of Edomites, sighing and crying. You got a lot of homeless Edomites. But yet here they are in a blessing through as all hell. So that's letting you know how much Yahweh Shemel Shai really likes this devil, how much he really likes Esau, Edom. That blessing ultimately was here. Take this shit. Take this and shut up. So that's letting you know that ultimately Yahweh Shemel Shai really hates this devil, like it says in the scriptures. I love Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So Yahweh Shemel Shai is about to crash this devil's kingdom. He's about to do away with this so-called, this America, so-called land of the free, and ultimately all the abominations, all the bloodshed that he's caused to the nation of Israel is about to be passed on to him. Verse 22, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished. O daughter of Zion, he will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity. O daughter of Edom, he will discover thy sins. And ultimately the whole world has woken up to who the problem of the earth is. You got a lot of Edomites, so-called white people saying that the problem of the earth is Jake, black fatigue. But Jake ain't going around taking over countries and putting embassies and making these other countries use the US dollar. No, that's ultimately the white man. He's the one going around bombing, deleting a mass amount of people, and if you don't comply with his way of democracy, if you don't want democracy, then he's gonna put you to death. He's gonna do away with you. So ultimately, the whole world has woken up to the fact of who the true problem of the earth is, which is this so-called white man, which is Esau, Edom. And we're almost at that time where the nation of Israel is going to be freed from this captivity. They're going to be delivered from this hellhole. And the ones who are going to be next up in line are going to be these heathens. But ultimately, the ones who are going to suffer the most are going to be these so-called white people, which are the Edomites, because of everything they've done to the nation of Israel. Since really we were a nation, even up from the time of the Exodus, when Moses and the children of Israel in the wilderness here, Jake was trying to get through the land of Esau, Edom. But what did these devils do? They came from behind and attacked the elderly and the women and the children. So from the time that Jake was a nation till now, Jake has been catching nothing but hell from these Edomites, these so-called white people. So very soon, Yahweh Shemel Shai is going to repay this devil, and he's repaying them now by collapsing the system. All these Edomites getting laid off, crying and sighing on TikTok and Instagram, because now these curses are getting put on our enemies, especially these so-called white people. This is Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 7. And the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai, thy power will put on all these curses upon thy enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So that's Yahweh Shemel Shai letting the Jake, who's in the truth, who's in the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, that the Lord is almost done having these curses on Jake, and they're slowly but surely getting transferred unto all the different nations that have put hell on Jake, because every single nation has had a piece of Jake. From so-called Chinese, so-called Arabians, so-called Africans. But now, though, the ones who really has in captivity is these so-called white people. And that's why these white people are really starting to feel it the worst. You got all these homeless Edomites sighing and crying on TikTok, throwing a fit, throwing a tantrum, just like Esau, Edom did. Esau, Edom was weeping and crying because the birthright was given unto Jacob. So it's the same thing today. You got these Edomites sighing and crying because now their blessing is being taken away. And ultimately is being transferred unto the nation of Israel. This is Psalms chapter 73 and verse 1. The Psalm of Asaph, truly the Most High is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. And who are the ones who are coming back into the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding? They have repented to the Heavenly Father through His begotten Son is the hopeful elect. Verse 2, as for me, my feet were almost gone, my steps had well nigh slipped. Verse 3, for I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. So, before we came to this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of why the white man is in rulership, why he was given complete rulership of the entire earth, is ultimately because Yahweh Shemel Shai set this devil up. Like it says in Job chapter 9 and verse 24, the world is given into the hands of the wicked, but only for a short period of time. And once we came into the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, Salakia, we understand that this devil being in rulership isn't forever. It's only for a short period amount of time, and it's almost up. And that gives us comfort, knowing that this devil is about to go down and he's about to go into slavery. But yet you got all these Jakes in the world. They're Still envious of Esau, Edom, trying to keep up with the Joneses, trying to surpass Esau in his own kingdom, but it's not going to happen because this is his kingdom. We're not meant to surpass this devil in his own rulership. Verse 4, for there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. Yeah, so, here you got Jake catching all these different infirmities and diseases, be giving up the spirit in their 50s, 60s. And then you got Esau, Edom on the other hand, healthy as all hell. They have the top quality foods, the top quality grocery stores, farmers markets. Esau in tip-top shape because this is his rulership. But this is as good as it gets. Whole Foods and a 24-hour fitness. And then you got the wicked elite that live up to be 100 plus years old, getting 10 different heart transplants, dying in a peaceful death. But ultimately, they're reserved for slavery. They're going to be the first fruits of slavery. Verse 5, they are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. So, yeah, these wicked ass Edomites, they don't be catching hell like Jake catches hell because they're in their kingdom. But very soon, all these curses that Jake has on them, they're going to be transferred fully onto these Edomites. Verse 6, therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain. Violence covereth them as a garment. So these Edomites, they're proud as all hell, thinking that their kingdom is never going to end. Their inward thought is that, their continue forever, but that's not the case. That Yahweh Bashim Shai is putting a stop to this devil, and then he's about to bring this devil down very soon. So all these different things that we see, these different cities, Esau, Edom in power, that's coming to an end. And that gives us comfort, knowing that this devil is about to be brought down, that he's about to go into slavery. This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So that's what this devil has coming to him. Slavery. He's going to get put to death. He's going to have to serve that 1,000 long hardcore year slavery, and then he's going to be done away with. He's going to be put in that pit, and he's going to be lit up on fire to be an example of what not to do on the planet Earth, and to not to touch the apple of the eye of the Heavenly Father. This is Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 18. This is what Esau, Edom has coming. After that 1,000 long hardcore year slavery to help build up the kingdom. This is Obadiah 1 and 18. In the house of Jacob shall be a fire, in the house of Joseph a flame, in the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. For the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai has spoken it. So this is as good as it gets for Esau. Edom is America, Babylon the Great, Starbucks, the U.S. dollar, going to work and working a 9 to 5. That's as good as it gets for Esau, Edom. And even these wicked elite that have all this wealth, all this rulership, they want immortality, but they're not going to get it. The only thing that they have coming is slavery and extinction. But that's pretty much the point. Praise is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and will do it well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Until I say Shalom.